Hello ladies and gentlemen, my name is Akash Paul and you've joined us on Express Drives for the review of the new Maruti Suzuki XL6. Now this is the 2022 facelift model of the XL6. It's not a generational change, so that's why there aren't any major overhauls except for a few things which we will show to you today. So without further ado, let's talk about the 6 big changes on the XL6 and a few things which we wish Maruti would have added in this car. Okay, so let's talk about the first big change in the new XL6, and that comes in the form of a new engine up front. Well, it's kind of new because it's still a 1.5 litre unit, it's still a 4-cylinder naturally aspirated engine, but this is the K15C engine, which means it's a dual jet engine, and this is something we've also seen in the updated Baleno. Now the power and torque figures stand at about 101 bhp and 137 Newton meters respectively, and if you compare these to the previous model, the outgoing model, then the power and torque has actually gone down very slightly, about 1 or 2 in case of both figures, and the vehicle has also become slightly heavier, so this does not look good so far. But the plus side is that while the power and torque is down very slightly, the mileage has gone up in a significant way. So the automatic will return you around 20.27 kmpl claimed, and that will make a huge difference in day-to-day running, especially considering the increasing cost of petrol. A lot of buyers would definitely appreciate the increase in mileage much more compared to the downsizing of the torque and power figures. While the claimed figures are close to 20, today while driving, I was able to achieve around 17 kmpl on the highway while there was not a lot of shifting, and about 15 kmpl when I was driving in a more spirited manner because we were taking our beauty shots and whatnot. So this is definitely a very frugal vehicle. Now, talking about the engine, well, it's pretty much the same in the sense that this is not a performance-oriented engine. It won't give you chills when you press the accelerator pedal. It takes its sweet time. You need to wrestle it to around 2.5 to 3,000 RPM to really get it going. But otherwise, it's a smooth engine. It's a relaxed engine that you can drive in the city, and even on highway stretches like these, you can easily carry yourself and your family and reach your destination. Yes, compared to some of the other 3-row vehicles which come with either a diesel engine or bigger petrol engines, this is not as exciting or as powerful, but it gets the job done in almost all aspects. And now we come to the second big change, and this definitely has to be the highlight of this edition of the XL6, because while the engine comes with the same 5-speed manual gearbox, in terms of the automatic, the 4-speed unit has finally been replaced with a 6-speed one. This is also a torque converter unit, and we've been told it's from Suzuki itself, so it's not being sourced from somewhere else. It's an in-house unit. The additional 2 gears also come with paddle shifts. Yes, now you have paddle shifts on the XL6. So if I were to shift it to the manual mode, I can drive it using these paddle shifts, and they do work surprisingly well. The response is almost instantaneous. So if I were to, let's say, go down a gear, it's shifted from 6th to 5th, and on top of that, this 6-speed unit feels a lot more fun compared to the 5-speed manual. The car with the manual gearbox feels a little sluggish, but with this one, even if you have it in the drive mode, which means it's automatically changing gears, it feels a lot more lively, and especially if you're going at a slow speed and you press the accelerator a little hard, you can feel the car downshift to try and get it up to speed to make those speedy overtakes. One thing I really like about the paddle shifts is that it does not automatically shift up. So it means that you can redline the car all the way up to about 6,000 RPM and the car won't shift the gear for you, which is fun in certain cases when you really want to drive the car on the edge. Although I am assuming a handful of people will do that, but the ability is there, and this feels like a very good 6-speed unit. I do prefer it in the manual mode where I have control with the paddle shifts, because in the drive mode I feel it's a little too eager at certain times. Nothing that would set you off or make you too uncomfortable in daily driving. If you're driving sedately, then yes, the unit complies with your inputs and works quite well for the most part. But yes, using the paddle shifts is definitely a lot more fun. The next big change comes in terms of the design language. Well, the overall silhouette, as you can see, remains the same. The dimensions are also the same, but if you see at the front, now you have a slightly restyled grille. The black bits have bigger holes in them, and the chrome slat on the front grille has also changed in design. If you come to the side, you will find that it now gets dual tone alloy wheels, and these are bigger in size. These are 16 inches instead of the 15-inch ones that you would get in the previous model. Now obviously, because the tire size has gone up, the ground clearance has increased by about 9 mm. And if you see the B pillar here, you can see this glossy black finish. The previous model also had a black finish on this section, but now it's there here as well. Over at the back, you'll notice that you now get smoked tail lamps, which give it a slightly sportier look, and the chrome element that used to be here has now been moved up. It's a long, thin chrome bar now over here, and you have a shark fin antenna up top. In terms of color options, you get 6 single tone and 3 dual tone color options, so there's a lot of options to choose from. And that is all that Maruti has changed on the design front. I personally think that this vehicle already looked very good, and that's why Maruti did not feel the need to change the design a whole lot. You tell us in the comments if you like the design, what are the bits that you like and what are the things that you did not like. To talk about the third change in the XL6, we've safely come to a halt because we will be talking about the improved safety quotient of this vehicle. Now, as part of this standard equipment, you get 4 airbags, ESC, hill hold assist and ABS and EBD as well. This really makes this car a lot more safer than the previous iteration. However, one should note that in the top end model, you still do not get additional airbags like in some other vehicles. Another safety cum assistance feature comes in the form of a 360-degree camera. Now, we recently saw this feature make its debut on the Baleno as well in terms of Maruti vehicles, and now the XL6 also gets a 360-degree camera. There's a button here which you can press to see a view of what is around the car, and even when you reverse or when you're going forward, you can change between the different views right here from the dashboard, and that is definitely a good safety feature. Plus, like I said, if you have a bigger vehicle, it helps in parking it, or if you are going over tricky terrain, this can definitely help you out a lot, because you can also see the position of your tire, how far it is away from a ditch or some other obstruction. For the fourth change, we will remain inside the car because it's about the updated cabin. Well, you might look at the car and say, well, there's not been much change on the dashboard, and you can still see the same 7-inch touchscreen infotainment system, which is smaller than some of the competition. But running underneath this is the new SmartPlay Pro infotainment system, and it also comes with additional connectivity features. You have more than 40 connected features. You can remotely control this car. You can remotely shut off the headlamps, switch on the hazard lights, or even start the AC if you have the automatic version of the car. And you can also use Hi Suzuki to give the car voice commands. Now, this does require a good internet connection, and that's why it did not trigger right now. But if you have a good connection, then it definitely works.
Your phone's connected. Please connect and try again. Goodbye for now.
You saw right now that it did not exactly work, and that's because we are in a low connectivity area. So this is a prerequisite for this thing to work, that you need to have a good connectivity. But if you do, then it definitely gives you access to certain voice commands like changing the radio station or switching on the air conditioner and things like that. The XL6 now also gets ventilated front seats. That means the driver and the passenger at the front can enjoy ventilation from the seats, and you have it in 3 levels. There are 2 buttons here, one for each seat, and you can probably hear the fans kicking in, and it does a very good job of cooling you from the back, and especially in hot summers, this is going to be a great feature that a lot of people will really appreciate. Now, this is fine, the infotainment system is also updated, but I still feel that Maruti Suzuki could have introduced certain smaller features which would have really elevated the cabin a lot more. For example, I have a phone that supports wireless charging, however there is no wireless charging pad. That's a normal place to keep your phone. Also, the Baleno gets a head-up display while this one does not. I agree that if you are someone who's going to spend their time on the passenger seats, then you might not find a lot of need for that. But if you are someone who would be behind the wheel most of the time, then that would have been a nice addition. And talking about the passengers at the back, while the XL6 still does not get a USB charger for the second row passengers, it still gets a 12-volt socket. And again, that very small addition could really make a lot of difference and make the lives of people easier. So yeah, these few changes could have been added to this car. To talk about the 6th and final change, I thought I might come to the second row of the XL6. Well, this final change is of course the price. With the update in kit, the price has also gone up. Now the XL6 starts at about 11.29 lakh rupees and goes all the way up to 14.55 lakh rupees, all prices being ex-showroom. Now this is about 1 lakh rupee more if you compare the base price of the previous XL6 and this one, and if you compare the top end model, then the price has gone up by about 2.5 lakh rupees. That definitely is a lot, and considering how affordable the previous XL6 was, this is definitely a little more pricey, but then for that price you're also getting added safety and added tech as well. So obviously it's going to drive up the cost by the amount that it has. Okay, now that we have listed all the changes in this updated XL6 and also talked about a few things that we would have liked to be added with this update, what are my final thoughts for the updated XL6? Well, it definitely is quite a capable vehicle. It's quite a sedate MPV to drive, and it can ferry around your family in a nice and luxurious cabin. The 6-speed automatic is brilliant to play with, and the paddle shifts just make the whole package a lot more fun. The price has gone up, but then you get extra features. And the price change in itself is not a big problem. The problem is that now you have more vehicles than there were back in 2019. So the XL6 has to compete on a lot more fronts with a lot more vehicles. I still think it holds its own when it comes to things like the brand reliability, the comfort factor, and also the looks. Yes, this is definitely one of the better looking MPVs out there in the market right now, and the updates only accentuate the looks a little more. And the aforementioned mileage definitely is a big selling point for this vehicle. The kind of mileage this gives and the kind of features you have along with that, it's definitely quite a nice offering in that manner. Yes, it's not as value for money as it used to be, but it still is a very good vehicle to drive and to own. That was all from my side. We will definitely be trying to get our hands on this vehicle for a longer drive and to compare it with other vehicles in this segment. So make sure that you subscribe to our channel for that. Follow us on all our social media handles. Like this video and comment down below if you want to say anything or if you want to ask anything about this vehicle. I'll see you again in the next video. Bye bye.